One of my favourite film directors is Woody Allen, and there are several of his films that I can watch and have watched over and over again. In the last few years, it's been great to have the opportunity to introduce the films to our children, and some of our favourites have also become Trinity's favourites too. At the end of a hectic weekend, we were all looking for something to watch last Sunday evening that was relaxing and gentle, that draws you into the story and has a brilliant soundtrack and is filmed in stunning locations. And so we turned once again to Midnight in Paris, a film that we've seen countless times since it came out in 2011. We were still in the Woody Allen mood when this finished, and we still wanted the same kind of thing. We still wanted an absorbing story, brilliant music, beautiful scenery, and great acting. And so we watched the 2008 film Vicky Cristina Barcelona, another film that we've watched many times. There are several similarities between these two films, not least that Woody Allen seems to be having a dig at American culture and a rather consumerist attitude that leads people to seek marriages that are economically beneficial and convenient rather than based on love and passion. In Midnight in Paris, Gil is engaged to Inez, but he comes to realise that they don't really love one another, and they both have a very different outlook and approach to life. Inez is driven by the luxury of an affluent lifestyle, and she has no real concern for Gil and his interests. For Inez, to be in Paris is an opportunity for shopping, eating and drinking. She doesn't share Gil's romanticism and has no desire for walking the streets of Paris in the moonlight or even in the rain. In Vicky Cristina Barcelona, Cristina is looking for passionate love. She wants to follow her heart. She doesn't want to settle for the safe option. Her friend Vicky has already settled for someone safe, someone with a good job and affluence, able to provide a big house and stability. She's not really sure if she loves him or not. She's tempted to be drawn into a passionate Spanish affair, but she can't cope with the uncertainty and tempestuousness of that. She sticks with the sensible option and returns to her normal life in the US. Cristina ultimately doesn't find what she's looking for in her relationship with the passionate Spanish artist, but this does not put her off looking for the one who will set her heart on fire and bring her into a fulfilled life. I was glad to watch these films again, not least because I enjoy them so much, but also because in some ways they crystallised some of the thoughts that have been going round in my head for a long time. Ever since we first went into lockdown last year, I was concerned by people telling me that they couldn't wait to get back to normal. I had to do a lot of really trying to be sympathetic towards that sentiment, while at the same time thinking, well, I don't. I thought that the longer the unusual ways of being church had to go on, the more chance we would have of starting afresh in our buildings when the time came, and personally I wasn't in a hurry to get back to how things were before at all. I wanted a big enough break from the previous normality to make a difference in our thoughts and attitudes. But I've become quite unsettled in recent weeks because I've been concerned that actually, as time has passed, any desire for real change has also passed. As we're preparing to re-enter our buildings, it seems that a lot of our focus and energy is on the buildings themselves and on how to pick up where we left off. Sometimes I even wonder, have I been dreaming? Did the pandemic actually happen? If we act as though the last 15 months hasn't happened and we simply try to restore order and make life and church life as near to what it was at the beginning of last year as possible, then what was it all about? Were we even trying to listen to what God might have been saying to us through this huge upheaval, this exile event? What was it about our previous life of worship and activity that God was asking us to interrogate? There are so many times in the prophets that we read of God saying, I don't want your sacrifices, your religious rituals, your singing, your gatherings, your piety. I don't want any of that religious stuff while people are hungry and injustice is rife. What I do want is for you to know me and love me, and in that love to act for justice, to seek to do good, to care for all in need, and to stand up against oppression and discrimination. Now I know I've lumped several passages together here, But you don't have to look too far into Isaiah, Hosea, Micah, and other prophetic writings to find God saying these kind of things. With all these thoughts going round in my mind about life in general and about church life in particular, as I was watching those films over the weekend, some questions came to me. In what ways are we trying to play it safe? Why do we want to settle for the safe option? What is it about doing things differently that scares us? If our tendency is to be risk averse, how can we take steps towards being people of love and passion who don't want to settle for the mediocre or the simply satisfactory and good enough? Why is safety in what we know apparently more appealing than the adventure of the unknown? If we're not passionate people, passionate in our love for Jesus and passionate about following him and passionate in our love and care for the world and everything in it, then church is perhaps like any other club that we might choose to join. We're a group of people who are connected by a common interest, but not much more than that. It's the Holy Spirit that brings us to life, that ignites a passion within us that is not content to settle for anything less than the fullness of life that Jesus offers us. It's the living presence of the Spirit that truly makes us church, and without her we're simply going through the motions. We might find those motions comfortable and reasonably satisfying, but that doesn't make us church, and we're missing out on so much more that is possible, and on so much more that God has in store for us. We're heading towards Pentecost in less than a fortnight, and that shows us a lot about how the Spirit draws us out of the safe and beyond what we choose to settle for. Before the Spirit comes, the early disciples are meeting behind closed doors because it feels safer than any other options they can think of. But suddenly the Spirit bursts open those doors and ignites in them a passion for Jesus unlike anything that they have known before. The Spirit turns things upside down. Where they were frightened and hidden away, they become bold, and out they go, beyond the safety of their small room and into the adventure of the world outside. There is an irony that this year on Pentecost Sunday, many churches are planning to go back into their buildings for the first time in a long time, which is the very opposite of what the Spirit did in the lives of the disciples on that first momentous occasion. So when we go back in, I really don't want us to go back in, not if that means a return to everything as it was before. The early disciples were drawn out in order to be a blessing to the wider community, in the sharing of love that is an expression of what it is to be part of God's reign. The early disciples opened themselves up to all the possibilities that the Spirit laid before them, and they stepped out of the safe zone to join in the passionate adventure that is life when we choose to love and follow Jesus. Do we really want to play it safe? Does anyone truly believe that God is asking us to settle for the safe option? Or do we want more love and passion in our lives? Do we want the adrenaline-charged adventure of faith or the safety of certainty? Incidentally, the theologian Paul Tillich wrote that the opposite of faith is not doubt, but certainty. If we opt for certainty, where is our faith? Are we ready for the adventure? Can we be different? Can we open ourselves to be people of the Spirit, filled with passion and love and boldness that doesn't go unnoticed in the communities of which we are a part? I'll be humming the tunes from the Woody Allen films for days to come. And while I'm humming, these questions will be on my mind. So I better keep on humming, as I don't want these questions to go away too quickly. I don't want to be part of a church that plays it safe. Safety is in many ways about self-absorption and self-preservation, which is quite the opposite of the kind of sacrificial love that Jesus calls us to embody and to share. I want to keep on trying to be open to the Spirit as she leads me in new and different directions. And when I'm tempted to settle for safety, I want her to nudge me and remind me of the passion for Christ that I have known, that is reckless and extravagant and adventurous. Safety? No, thank you. A new and different and unknown future? Yes, please. Bring it on.